Hello everyone, this is Bethlehem Atfield. Welcome to the podcast Journey to Ethiopia with a Story. I'll be reading you today an excerpt from Pulto's Catch Your Thunder. Pulto is the pen name of a magnificent Ethiopian storyteller who has published 9 books in English and Amharic so far. Rendezvous with the End. How to get there. And this is part of the story. And the story is about a few initiates in Maguda Land who saw from the signs of their land the approaching end that they call the Great Reversal. No, you won't find this place in any of the official map, at least not with the same name. Maguda Land is always hazy and seen somehow perched above the clouds. Map makers overlook it, mistaking it for a speck on the sky. That is a joke. Throughout the millennia, outsiders have been calling the land by many different names. Some call or used to call it the Sleeping Land, others the Land of the Waking Thunders, still others the Nest of the Dukags. All these names may not be in the languages you speak. That's one of the real reasons why the land eludes maps. There are also other reasons of which I'm not permitted to tell. The Magudans call their homeland the Maguda Land, even before the earth took her current shape. The name is still at the tip of the tongue of every Magudan alive. If you are a real adventurer and intent at finding this place, here is a helpful tip for you. The Maguda Land is in the secluded and perennially foggy highlands of the Gamo Plateau. It is near the horny corner of Africa. Horny used to be a decent word, by the way, where the upper thicker lip of the Great Rift Valley is badly fractured by an ancient fever. A fever caused by giant mosquitoes that used to feed on the blood of the earth. Fear not, the last reversal has long erased the mosquitoes from the face of the earth, with the dinosaurs. The Magudans are one among the 40 families or 40 springs of the Gamo, the lion people. Their neighboring communities prefer to be quiet about them, afraid that the very mention of the name might infest their dreams with the most horrible dukags. You may know dukags by a different name. They are those common spirits and ghosts dwarfed by spells and their own misdeeds. Do not ask for directions. If you are a help me please type and can't help it, what you get is, "We don't have that name in our administration board," from an officer. And "Never heard of that name, friend," from one of those smart tour guides. See that wry smile on their faces? They are hiding something. Don't give up yet. If you are that determined on finding the Maguda Land, make the indigenous and immigrant spirits your true guides. When you enter its horizon, you start to dream strange dreams. Even in your full senses, you see dukags at every corner. You may even see your own self as a dukag staring at you from among the fractured spaces. That is only if you have a hidden darkness that chases a ghost out of you. This might be scary, but a good sign you are nearing your destination. Help may also come in other forms. The reports of the World Health Organization and the World Bank are sometimes true. Grandmothers are rare in that part of the world. Still, you may find one at the corner of one of those tangled footpaths. She is just like any other grandmother in this world. Hates to disappoint people. Ask her. She would point back with gnarled thumb arched with age, and, without looking in that direction, say,
"Used to be up that way, my dear."
If you feel like you have a secret rendezvous in the Maguda Land, you should just do that. Go up that way. My oath forces me to limit my hints at this. I should probably add 2 more things though. In the story you're about to read, despite the many names this land may be referred to, I'm only allowed to write it as the Maguda Land. This is also part of my oath. I cannot tell the story in the first person. That's not the way of the land, the elders said. I understand, I said, thinking to myself, you people don't want me to make myself part of your story. I is out anyway. For thousands of years, the elders of the Maguda Land resisted the temptation of putting their secrets in writing. Before I started the work, I was wondering why they now want it written. Is it really to chronicle the great reversal for the new human race to come after the great battle? I thought. Or do they really want to make it an instrument of their warfare? I found the answer when I was well into the telling, and I understood. Prelude to the great reversal. If the world had only one prisoner, who would that person be? For the Maguda Land, a world on its own right, it is the thief, an aged, toothless man as old and as strong as the ancient rock. Teferi, the only policeman in the land, guards the man day in and day out at the single prison house in his compound. Teferi's son, Aesop, loves the thief so much. The thief tells the policeman's son all kinds of strange stories. He told Aesop this story, asking him to please not interrupt him. That was so, he said, the spirit of the dead and the half-dead listening may register every word of it as it is exactly told.
It is important that all of you remember,
the thief stressed, sounding like he was speaking to a congregation of the living and the dead.
The spirits of the dead and the half-dead are listening?
Aesop stuttered.
Yes, but you are interrupting already, Aesop.
All right, thief. I won't anymore. Promise.
The earth was lonely,
the thief began. Wait, thief. The spirits of the dead are with us now, right?
Yes, Aesop. And they just listen and say nothing. If only if they talk to me.
Okay, thief. You said the earth was lonely. Go on.
The earth was lonely,
went on the thief.
There was no one to talk to her, no one to listen to her heartbeat, and no one to share her warmth. Her sisters didn't care much. Wind is a wanderer, and so is water. Fire is wary of its own power and always stays hidden. The earth pondered about her loneliness and decided to create trees, shrubs, and herbs. Her sisters gave her a hand. The earth saw it was better. At first, the plants were wanderers too. They strolled like the water and flew like the wind. They roamed over the waters and the winds and did not stay with her. Mother Earth thought about that and decided to tell them stories to make them stay. The plants so loved the stories that moss gave up wandering and set roots on her. That pleased the earth. Those were the days of plenty. The plants produced flowers and fruits in abundance and filled every bit of the land. Wilderness took over the face of the earth. She could not even see the sky, her husband. She pondered over that and created animals to let them eat some of the plants, their flowers, and their fruits. With the clearing that created, she managed to see the sky once again. The animals proved to be more wanderers than the plants used to be. As a mother, the earth loved them all the same. Hoping to make them stay, She told her beautiful stories. The animals heard and loved her stories. However, they did not always stay with her. They said, "We will keep your stories in our bellies, songs and dances. If we forget, the plants we eat, your salty face we lick, the water we drink and swim in, and the wind that teaches us our dances would remind us. Our memory of your tales will always keep us tied to you, and we will always be your children." The earth agreed to that, and so it came to be. She was pleased with both her children, except for one thing. Both the plants and animals hear and remember her stories, but they don't make up stories of their own. Numberless moons were born and died. Many seasons came and went while the earth told her stories over and over. The endless repetition bored her. She fancied it might be better to listen to new stories than repeat her own ones. She thought about that and created humans. After she brought forth humans, she realized there was one problem. If humans could create their own stories, why would they stay with her to listen to her stories? That frightened the earth. "I ought to be wiser about this," she told herself. Thus she decided to seek help from her sisters and the sky, her husband. Humans are even more wanderers than animals. The earth so loved her new children that she started to tell them stories that she had not told her firstborns. The humans listened to her, loved her tales, but they kept on wandering. She didn't give up. She borrowed stories from the wind, water, and fire and told them. The stories were so many that the guts of humans couldn't contain them all. She stored some on their palms and others on their faces. These too were not adequate. She wanted to tell them more. There was no enough space for them to keep the stories and remember. The earth pondered on this and made the human heart a storehouse for tales. Pleased with her wisdom, she told them stories after stories. The trouble was, every time Mother Earth told humans new stories, their hearts grew wider and wanted more. She told them all the stories she had, and the stories she had borrowed from her sisters and her husband. The heart of humans grew wider even than the sky, and because it never fills up, humans always wanted more. Earth had nothing more to tell. Finally, she told them to do what they were called forth to do, create new stories to fill up their emptiness. But she warned them, "Never forget my stories. They are the words that keep you connected to me. Forgetfulness severs this connection. You would then lose me and lose yourselves." With this unique capacity given to them, men and women of all lands created many stories. With every new story, their hearts kept on expanding and creating emptiness hard to satisfy. They then allowed envy and hate, empty dreams and vain imaginings, and many other vices of their own creation to enter their hearts. These cast heavy shadows on the earth's tales and made humans forgetful. In time, they forgot the stories of their ancients. Then, most even forgot how to create new ones. A few people who know animals and birds walked around with the tales of their land written in them, open their guts, listen to their songs, see their dances, and recall the stories of Mother Earth, and see also glimpses of what is to come. These few people know the ancient tales will always be there. They know also that the tales are only erased at the time of the great reversal. That too is written in the guts, songs, and dances of the animals. What is the great reversal, thief?
Aesop can't help interrupting.
Again, Aesop?
The thief complained about the interruption. Aesop only said, I just want to know, thief.
All right then. The Great Reversal is a time similar to what other cultures call the end, or the apocalypse, or al-Qiyamah. Are you familiar with this?
Yes, they are in the Bible and in the Quran. The thief nodded and continued.
Earth's warning was clear. Those who forget her stories do not belong to her. When she sees she is losing her children through forgetfulness, she weeps with sadness. At times her sorrow becomes inconsolable, for she knows that the end of every great season of creation, so many men and women forget her tales and lose her, and hence they lose themselves. When that time comes, the earth weeps with great distress and turns her back not to see her children who do not belong to her anymore. It is this turning around that brings about the great reversal. This could either be a time of total destruction or a time every living soul is given a second chance to make her ultimate choices. This is also the time Earth tells newer tales to her children that survived the apocalypse. When the new stories thus bring forth newer cultures, it would be the culmination of the Great Reversal and the beginning of the new springtime. Of the older race, there are a few who would not forget the old stories of the earth. These are the trusted children of Mother Earth. When they see the signs of the reversal, they say to her, "We will remember your old stories. Shunning every temptation, we keep our oath to you. We are now too old to learn new stories. We shall keep the old stories and do not desire new ones which would be of no use to us." These are called the lovers of the ancients, or simply the ancients. To them the earth says, "I have many children, and not just a few." And there are some who created their own stories, which are so beautiful and so brilliant. These are the ones who call themselves the free or the liberated. They tell the earth, "With the power you gave us, we gave up everything and won our independence with our sweat and blood. We created stories of exquisite beauty and peerless wisdom. We love our stories. We no longer need to be bound to your stories, nor the skies and the seven heavens. Our beautiful stories are sufficient unto us." To this also the earth says, "I have many more children, and not just a few." And then there are the innocents. These are children and the childlike of the world. The innocents do not know of the old stories and have no story of their own. They are open and ready to listen to new ones. The earth loves this dearly and makes them the heroes and heroines of her new epic. The season of the turning around of earth is also the time of great battle. The Magudans call that Gita Ola. The ancients fight to keep the old stories. They are fiercest of the fighters, for they have the power of the ancient secrets. The free fight to keep their own stories. These two are the fiercest of fighters, for they have the power of freedom. And the innocents fight so the new stories may take root in the garden of their hearts and in the new world. These only have the power of their innocence. As many signs show, the Gita Ola is coming soon. This is not a warfare of earthlings alone. Seeking their own liberation, the spirits of the dead and the half-dead assist these three in their fight for power. Their battle won't have parallel in the memory of the three winds.
But how could the dead and the half-dead assist the living? Asked Aesop.
A sensible question. The wise men and women of the Maguda Land and a few others in other lands have an ancient art. Through this art, they recruit ghosts to make them members of their army. Then they guide the ghosts under their commands to possess the living. These possessed living, whatever worldly power they might have, think they are living their own choices, but fight in favor of the commanders of the ghosts. This is how the few and the forgotten, such as the Magudans, will face the great powers of the world in the Gita Ola.
You know the chief master, the scary witch doctor.
Yes, Aesop, but we don't call them names here.
I know that is true, though. I heard people like him can possess other people. Why should they bother with the dead if they themselves can possess the living and make them do whatever they want?
It must be a dead soul that whispered this question to you. You see, Aesop, the dead speak. We just have to listen. The living are not as free and powerful. They have their own weary body and life to cater for, and the dead have no will of their own and can't choose. That means they cannot possess people of their own volition, except, of course, the traceless. Every other ordinary ghost must depend on the capable living to possess the living. This symbiosis between the living and the dead souls creates an unbreakable pact and makes both super powerful.
Did you say that traceless?
Yes, Aesop. They are the most powerful spirits shy of God. Silent for a cycle of creation, their utterance announces the closure of that cycle. That means the reversal or the end. The traceless, when it's time for them to utter and lead the Gita Ola, can only choose and persuade their human vehicle, and cannot be chosen or persuaded by any soul alive. Are they many? Many or one, they are always referred to as they, and not by any of the disrespectful singulars, it, he, or she, and you cannot call them ghosts if you are in your right mind. That will make them very, very angry, not only at the person responsible, but on the entire land as well.
Kick people's asses because of me? They, okay. But do you also know that the art of luring ghosts? Thief? I feel like you do. I want to learn it, or I want someone to guide a spirit of the dead to possess me. Can you do that for me, please?
Thank you for listening. Please read the discussion points under the description of this episode. We would like to hear your views on these points and any other observation you may have. If you'd like to listen to more stories as soon as they are released, please subscribe to this channel. Until the next story, goodbye.